Okay, so now you've done your workouts, you're really sore, you're exhausted, your muscles are depleted, you can barely walk. What do? You need to cool down, you need to stretch, you need to get your muscles back into their position. And one of the more effective ways to do it right after your gym, if you just don't have time to do a lot of stretching afterwards, is with foam rolling and just general rolling with whatever you have available. So there are different things that you can use. This guy is probably the most common one you're gonna see. There's different versions of it. There's solid foam ones that are really big as well, more popular in things like Good Life. There's these smaller ones, which I love because I can take them with me and just stuff them with clothes when I'm traveling. And then you have ones that are a little bit more aggressive on your body, but they're really good if you're struggling with an injury, with knots that you can feel that there's a really sore point in your body that you want to get rid of that stickiness. So you got this guy, which I call it the torture machine, but it really isn't. It actually is very, very effective for that. And then there's your balls. There's all sorts of different sizes, of different types. This is just a common lacrosse ball, and it's probably as effective as this would be, but this is a lot more specific to one specific area that you want to do. The good thing about balls is that you can just carry one in your gym bag and it doesn't take a lot of space. So these are really good to use for that as well. And then there's smaller, bigger ones. These double ones are great for your glutes. They're great for your legs, or even your back, because you can have your spine right in between. You shouldn't be rolling bones or joints. So this one's really good for that because you really avoid your joints. But what I'm really going to focus on today is this guy, because it is the most common one to find at the gym. And it's probably the more gentle one if you're not used to, treatment and technique on your own body. So after you've worked out, say you've done lower body and you want to really stretch, I know that there's this misconception that, oh, I only did glutes. So you're going to go and try and roll just your glutes, but you shouldn't be doing that. You really should be looking around what are the joints that you worked on. So if you worked on your hips, you're probably going to be affecting your quad muscles, all your internal and external rotators, even your hamstrings. So I always suggest that if you've done any lower body work, that you roll your full lower body. So that is really what I'm going to be going through with you today. For an upper body one, I'm going to show you with these guys because they're a lot more effective for that. But for lower body, I'm going to focus on this. So starting with the back side, I would suggest doing at least 10 to 15 seconds per leg per side. So if we are to break down your legs into sections, you have your calf, you have your hamstrings, the outside of your thighs, or your abductors, the inside of your thighs, adductors, and your quad muscles. Obviously, you have your glutes. So gotta account for about 8 minutes of foam rolling after your lower body workout. So I prefer going from the bottom to the top because it makes it a lot more effective. And also you really want to work against the origin and insertion of your muscles on the back side. So on the back side of your legs, you want to go from the insertion to the origin, whereas on the front, you want to go the other way. You want to go from origin to insertion to help with that blood flow. So starting with your calves, I like doing both at the same time, but if you feel that that's not enough, you can cross your legs one above the other and add a bit more pressure. Obviously, the more pressure you add, the more tension you're going to get there. And as you roll it, always think about rolling one way. I know you're going to have to go back and start rolling again, but as you roll, you really want to focus on doing it slowly in the one way you want to foam roll it. And what that's going to do is it's going to release the muscle fibers that were tense from your exercise, that got all swelled up and that are starting to damage, and you're putting them back into their place so that they're still mobile in their full range of motion of the joints that they work on. So starting with your calves first. Again, just think about rolling maybe 10, 15 seconds each muscle. I'm not going to do both sides just for the sake of the video, but please always do both sides. It's not like you just worked on one leg. Then doing your hamstrings, I do both of them at the same time. Do it nice and slowly. And if you find a sticky point, say that when you get there, there's like, oh, that hurts, just hold it there. Just breathe, take a deep inhale, exhale, and keep going. And start again. Oop. Hold it where it's sticky and keep going. Again, I count for about 10-15 seconds each side. I usually count, I take my time. Sometimes I even do a little bit longer. If you feel that there's a section in your leg that's a little bit more painful than the other, maybe that part needs a little bit more love, and that's okay. You can work on that guide too. So we've done our hamstrings and moving to our glutes now. For the glutes, it's best if you start doing them sideways, because you shouldn't really ever be touching or rolling your bones, and your glutes are mostly on the side, and then you have your glute med and glute min that are up right here. So starting from the bottom and rolling it up, you're going to work various different angles. This is more for your glute max, your big glute muscle at the back. And then you're going to start working your way all the way to the side towards your glute mid and min on here on the side. There is a point about there on your hip that's going to be really tight, and you're going to feel that if you've worked your glutes that day. I suggest you just hold it there for a few seconds and let that release, because once that part gets released, it really just helps with the blood flow and the rest of your stretching and recovery routine. Same thing if you're going on your tummy. I suggest that for the quads you actually separate it into two parts. It's a really big muscle, and so if you go all the way from the top to the bottom in one go, it's a lot. It creates a lot of tension and a lot of pressure. So I suggest just going for the first half of your quad up to about there. It's going to start getting really painful, and going back and just rolling more the hip part towards the origin of all your quad muscles. And once you've done that for about 10 seconds, you move to the lower part of your quad all the way down to your knees, and make sure that you actually roll and internally and externally rotate. So if you look at my foot, right now I have the inside of my foot towards the floor, but then you're going to want to turn it around and do the outside of your foot, towards the mat. And that is how you roll your legs.